All right, welcome everyone for joining us today. So awesome, we've got Michael Crump. You get to hear the smooth southern sound of Michael Crump for the next hour or so. And what a great topic to have, right? For those who don't know, I mean, Michael Crump, it's MB Crump pretty much everywhere. He does stream. How often do you stream? I'm sure you're going to mention this in a moment, but
about three times a week now.
Yeah. So, which I know the one I usually catch is the one on Sundays.
Oh yeah. Sundays has actually turned out to be a good time.
Yep. And sure enough, I will say, because you may or may not have folks who are new to software development. Michael Crump is definitely someone to check out on Twitch because he likes to specialize on, quote unquote newbie questions. Although I find sometimes those newbie questions are my questions too. So. But all right, so real quick, thank our sponsors, Green Events is just my little company that I run everything through. All right, so upcoming meetups. So August 27th, we will have Jay Harris, who will talk about basically Azure DevOps. And, actually, we just had Jay last week for Louisville.net, and we'll have him for the August Azure meetup. So hopefully you don't get too tired of Jay. Because he's also going to be speaking at Copalooza the week before that. So we'll have Jay around quite a bit. Also, on the Louisville.net, which this is a mixed meetup right now. So on August 12th, we'll have Cameron Presley talking about functional programming, where he's going to rebuild Link using functional programs. So that should be interesting. And then September 17th, we have this little, maybe you've heard of him, but Mads Torgersen. Will actually be joining us. And for those who don't know who Mads Torgersen is, he is everything C#, right? So he's in charge of C#. He's the brains behind. Now he's not the original brains behind it. That would be Anders Hallberg, who I want to get him one time. Because so for those who don't know, Anders, who created C#, also is working on TypeScript because he created that. But before that, he created what's it called? The Pascal language. Oh, this is driving me crazy. I'm gonna have to look it up because I'm drawing a complete blank out right now. But so he's created a lot of great languages. All right, and then I also encourage you to look at the other groups we have running. Second Tuesday at 6 p.m. we have Global IT Happy Hour. And that's just a social gathering. We just turn up Zoom. We do not stream that on Twitch because we wanted to make it personal. But we get on there and just talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you are a tech leader of any type, and whether that means you're just running a team, you're a technical leader, or you're like myself, you're a director or what have you. Second Tuesday at 8 a.m. we have the Louisville Tech Leaders. And that's just an open discussion. We talk about what we're seeing in our teams. And then, the funny part is the remote workers meetup is actually a hiatus right now because it doesn't actually make sense during the pandemic. The idea was actually to get remote workers out of the house, and we can't do that right now. So I put that in a hiatus right now. But eventually we'll get that back up going. But also, I tell you, check out all the other different meetups, not just in Louisville, but all over the country. These are all, because I grabbed a slide I used for the .NET meetup. So these are all .NET meetup throughout everywhere that I often check out. There's Azure's, there's all kinds of groups. And one of the great parts is most of these groups are now, they're online, or they're doing it on Twitch, or doing it on YouTube, or just a Zoom meeting. There's a lot going on. So you can definitely get a lot of great knowledge. All right, we are less than 3 weeks away from Copalooza, or I'm sorry, 4 weeks. I almost took a week away from myself. So we're just shy of 4 weeks away from Copalooza. It's going to be 100% online because it has to be 100% online. But the great part is if you're an attendee, you have access to everything. So there's no more the pre-conference tickets and the regular tickets. It's just one ticket, gets you into everything, to include most everything And actually, I think there's only one workshop that's not going to be recorded due to licensing requirements. But we'll have that. We're going to have open space, so it's going to, open spaces where like you want to talk about something that there's not a session about. You put that topic up on a board, and people, come at a certain time. We're going to have online networking. So, we really are trying to make this as much as possible like a regular conference, just online. So, and then, fair enough, I do stream on Twitter every day, Twitch every day, or every weekday at 11:30. And I encourage you to come and check it out. I'm generally working, if I'm doing coding, right now I've been doing a lot of interviews, but if I'm doing coding, I've been doing a lot of work on a Gremlin ORM. So Gremlin's a graph database that I really enjoy, but Gremlin's really hard to write applications against because it's all a lot of string manipulation. So I'm trying to build a simple ORM. So I've been doing a lot of that, along with, just, ask me anything, Durham, and I like answering questions through those. So along with that, as I mentioned, I've been doing a lot of interviews. So this is all the interviews that we have or will be doing between now and Copalooza. And these have been a lot of fun. I've really been enjoying these. So our next one will be Sunday evening. We'll have Eric Potter, but then you can see, we've got others coming up over the next couple of weeks. You can actually go to the Copalooza website. Under the conference menu item, you'll find a listing of these. Include links directly to the individual speakers, so you can see their sessions or their recordings, I should say. So, and then finally, we were normally going to BJ's, but we can't go to BJ's. So what we do is we'll keep the line live. I'll stop the Twitch streaming, but we'll keep the Zoom going after Michael is done, and just a social period. And I'll stick around as long as people want to stick around, And so those have always been a lot of fun. So with that, now it's time to turn it over to Michael. Like I said, this is it's kind of funny because I've been streaming these anyways, and we're going to be talking about streaming your work, right? With that, Michael, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Let me share my screen here. Let's go over to yes, screen number 1. These are some of the things that now we kind of have to do as we are adjusting to user group meetings, conference meetings, and really like all meetings being virtually, reconnecting. So just want to do a quick kind of like audio and screen check, make sure everybody's able to see my screen and they're able to see or at least hear my wonderful Southern accent.
Yes, everything's coming through fine.
Coming through fine? Awesome, awesome, awesome. And by the way, Chad, that was Turbo Pascal.
Turbo Pascal, thank you. Yes.
Anders. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you all kind of for hanging out. My name's Michael Crump. I've been around kind of in the software development space for many, many, many years. And currently work at Microsoft on the Azure application development team. So like, what does that mean? One of the jobs that I'm tasked with is creating the type of content that folks would enjoy to read or to watch or to listen to. So some things like Developer's Guide to Azure, Azure Tips and Tricks, and a few more. Today's journey is going to be strictly around the Azure Tips and Tricks repo that I created a little over a year ago, and kind of want to share in this this time that we have a little bit of how I was able to start growing that project through live streaming and all of the things that I needed to learn, but I probably learned the hard way. There's 2 places to find me. Now I'm pretty much on in Twitter. DMs have always been open. I've kept them open for like years, or as soon as they turned on that feature. And so anybody can drop me in line if they want to do something personally. because email, my inbox always has like thousands of different messages unread. And then if you want to kind of check me out and some of the other like streaming stuff that I do typically about 3 streams a week. On Wednesday, I talk about Azure. On Friday, I usually have an interview with some sort of developer influencer type or something like that. And then on Sunday and usually on Saturdays, I do ethical hacking, which is something that's totally not related to my job, but I find very, very fun to do. All right, so let me see if I can get this going to the next screen. There we go. It's working now. So with streaming, and especially like in regards to like your project, there's a couple of things I thought we should definitely hit on today. Like, what are we trying to do with bringing an open source project over to a streaming platform? Like, why is that even like a good idea? Um, what are we really going to kind of get out of that? And I'm going to share all of my stats are like public, so you can look in, you can see where some of the growth was. And then also this current landscape of streaming providers. As I've been seeing more and more developers kind of getting into the streaming space, I'm hearing some say, "Oh yeah, everybody's going to Twitch." But then there's also a few other places that I'm starting to see a few folks kind of starting to sprout up in those areas. And I'm going to give you a few of my pros and cons. If you want to get started doing this, I'm going to give you that information, but I'm also going to tell you a lot of the things that nobody wanted to probably tell you about streaming, um, they were afraid to say. A little bit about hardware. We're going to go to some demos and then finish doing a little bit really about promoting your streams and at least how I go about that. Okay, so when I look at an open source project, and if I'm trying to deliver that to, if I'm wanting more people to start either starring that project or one of my goals was contributing to it, I found that I really needed to go where the developers were at. And while Twitter and everything like that is obviously where I think there's a lot of space for developers, what I've kind of found, at least with my project, is that by switching over to Twitch, not only could I show people kind of the underbelly of the of what the repo and putting it together looks like, but also I was able to recruit people that would help me. So folks that would come into my stream, some of them may be new, and they would say, "Oh, okay, well, I'm brand new. I'm not a coder," and I would say, "Oh, you know what? I have tons of like typos. I have all kinds of probably some of the code that I wrote is already not working again." Or maybe it was an incorrect copy and paste from Stack Overflow that I did. So there's always room for everyone to contribute. Mindshare was the next piece that I put in here. Um, there's so many parts of your open source project, regardless if it's just like a blog or a fully baked like extension or maybe an application or whatever. But you can showcase some of those features, and a lot of the times inside of the stream, you can do things like you can clip those certain sections out inside of your repo that you've got. You can offer up like a live interactive experience with that. But again, it is going where they're currently at. And the last thing is really more about just the adoption. So you obviously, you're going to want people contributing to the project. You're going to want people that is, making sure tested everything like that runs, but also you just want people to start using your project. And so that's one piece of an open source project's goal is just for users. And recently with Azure Tips and Tricks, I'm lucky enough to have a little over 1 million page views. And that was 100% organic. So keep in mind, this is no like paid, there's no paid media. There's nothing behind that. It's just simply kind of following a few of these steps. Um, before, and so here, kind of looking at kind of like live streaming and some of the different like providers here. I've heard the word live streaming, lots of different things, said there. Basically, just think of it as obviously video audio broadcasted in real time. And when people are looking at like the different types of providers there, um, the one thing that you're going to want with your open source project is going to be discoverability. um, I know it seems like so simple, doesn't it? Uh, you want be folks to be able to actually find the project that you make. And so, believe it or not, I believe there's certain situations where you may not want to go Twitch all the way. That's why, thankfully, I named this session streaming platforms. Um, so Twitch, obviously, it's where some of you are already at right now. Great, for developers. Really bad for discoverability. The way Twitch ranks people is based on how many concurrent viewers that they have, which in turn has created a whole brand new set of problems. So people will buy bots. They will find ways to kind of bump up their numbers where they actually are shown on the main page. Um, YouTube, yes, YouTube has a streaming feature. YouTube, on the other hand, is extremely, extremely friendly for discoverability, friendly for developers. Um, it's there, but one of the things I was going to say about YouTube is that while I think YouTube's a great place, and people say, "Well, why aren't you going there? Why aren't you streaming there?" Um, Typically with YouTube, I'm still finding that that's very much the case of videos that are like pre-recorded. It's not like a first thought of actually having live interaction. And so you can look at some of the pro streamers that have been in this space, and they'll all tell you the same exact thing that I'm saying now. And that is that you originally, if you can put content on YouTube, you can drop back to Twitch. So this is a very kind of this is kind of common knowledge in that kind of space. YouTube to Twitch. Facebook has had an extremely failure to launch. Recently, Mixer, unfortunately, Mixer is no longer with us. And so they were trying to get people to use Facebook. And so if you look at like the people that was there, I'll just take Ninja. He was, this is a person that has about 35,000 people that watches him or more that every time he plays a game. And so, yeah, 35,000 people. And so with people like him, he was like, no way I'm going to Facebook. And also Facebook still has that fault, at least, from my opinion, that it's like an older like person's like platform. Like my kids and other like younger folks, and even like my even it could be even the 20 somethings or whatever, they're not really going to use Facebook. um and then there's some others that that's out there as well, like Instagram is another one that I've actually recently been taking a look at. You're going to get your younger demographic, and so some of the beginner content, and especially if you're looking for beginners to like help with documentation and things of that nature. That's where I can kind of see a lot of Twitch and maybe Instagram helping you. Or if you've already got a YouTube channel, send them back. For Facebook, I don't know what to do for those people. So the typical setup, is obviously like, the chat, you've got the screen, and then you've got like, a host, one or two people. As you can see there, I've got my son on the show there. We even use this for like a little bit of like family time. So the both of us can kind of like be online and, and work on a problem or work on a solution or something like that together. But this is what you'll see kind of like everywhere. And with that, there's a couple of things that I was gonna that's super quick, super fast that you're gonna be doing at the beginning. You're gonna need your open source project, hopefully one you built or one you're part of or one you want to help promote, a free like Twitch account, or it could have been one of those other platforms, stream keys, and then the broadcasting software. I want to touch on this just really quick. So OBS, which I'll give you a quick kind of lap around OBS real quick. But in OBS, that is a free tool. It's what most streamers use. It's what I use. A quick note is that I have tried it on Mac and on Windows. Windows beats the Mac version, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Very, very many times I've had multiple crashes on a Mac with trying to run OBS, and because I think OBS was always Windows first or a PC first type of platform. XSplit you have to pay for. They have some features that's nice. Twitch Studio, that is that's completely free. It's provided by Twitch. I have downloaded it and tried it out one time. I've never used it live on a stream. It was very much more of a hand-holding, not typically probably the audience that would be listening to this as more of a technical audience. A lot harder to find advanced settings and things of that nature. And then Streamlabs is another one that I've used as well. There's pros and cons to like each of these, and I can say that I have invested a lot in Streamlabs, and one of the things that I can tell you about that is that every time I've ever I went to a new conference or something of that nature, I would always have to kind of revert back to OBS. And so OBS is going to be something you're probably going to have to go back to at some point. And then do the stream setup. There's functionality that's there, and then start streaming. Now, for typical broadcast, and just stay with me, I think I've only got one more slide here. For typical OS and hardware stuff, I listed out, you can obviously use all three of these platforms. Windows is typically my preferred platform, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a second. Obviously, a webcam, a mic. I would consider a mic being the most important investment of any stream, but there's always a but, right? And I'll get to those. Lighting. So here in my my office, I've got two lights on each side right here, and then I've actually bought lights for my floor. let that sink in for just a second. Lights for my floor, and the reason for that is obviously you need some backlighting because there's always little shadows and things like that that happens, and so you will need those things. Hardwired internet, please do not use wireless. just don't use it. And as I've been kind of talking about this, and I did some chatting afterwards at we did a WSL conference. If you can't run the cat cable, there are power strips that have the ability to plug in Ethernet. So you can actually buy like a set of like two of these, and you can plug it into the wall, plug it in from your router, and then go to whatever room you want, plug in the other device, and you'll have an Ethernet port, and then you can plug it in. That is going to always destroy the speed of like wireless. And I know that because I've actually have that tested in one of my rooms. Okay, the last thing is a capture card. Don't buy these expensive. I did this. I'm telling you all the things I did wrong. Don't buy the biggest, baddest capture card unless you actually are planning on doing gaming. Most people that knows me know that I can't really stand gaming. I used to play it a lot. The only thing I'll even play is maybe a little football games that's on there. But a capture card, just get one that's at least able to do 1080p. You won't need anything else. There's the Elgato series and more. Don't spend a ton of money for a capture card right off at the beginning. And then there's this conversation of one PC or two PCs. There's obviously pros and cons to both. What I typically do is I have two PCs set up. I have one PC that it does all of my broadcasting. So when you get into using OBS, that video has to be, as it's being sent out to Twitch, there's like some encoding that needs to happen. If you're running a bunch of other programs in the background, it could be like voice modulation applications to maybe running Skype, maybe running Zoom, maybe using other web browsers for effects like explosions on the screen. All of that stuff starts adding up. And so I separate that out from my programming PC. That's one of the things I've always done, and I do that simply with just using one of those capture cards. Okay. All right. So before we kind of dive in, the rest of the stuff's just like talking about some demos and things that I think is useful or I hope will be useful for you. Let's see. So before you dive into this thing, the first one, these are just some generic tips, but I think they're very important to developers. So learn to talk to yourself. This is something that came very easy to me. I've always been able to I can talk like forever about something, and I never had a problem talking like to myself. I know that's probably a little bit on the sad side there, but with the streaming and especially with like your project, you're going to have to get used to doing that, and that's just a 100% guaranteed type of thing. And then also it's patience. With the streaming universe, it doesn't work, or at least for me, it didn't work like Twitter worked for me. For Twitter, and obviously I joined Twitter, back in the day, as the old guy says. I joined way back in the day, and the Twitter following was, I mean, it was going pretty good. I mean, it was normal to have great days of followers because that was where we were finally able to have a place to go hang out. On Twitch, it's very much not that same sort of thing. And when I say get used to 0 viewers, the reason I can tell you to get used to 0 viewers is because I've had 0 viewers. Now, you'll hear like some people that will tell you to do things like, call your like mom or dad, or get your husband or wife or whoever to like log on and like listen to you. I think that's okay to do, but they're not actually going to be real viewers of your channel. So it may help to have 1 or 2 people doing that, but in the long run, you're definitely wanting to have somebody that's going to be spending a lot more, time with you. The third thing I have here is being consistent. This was very hard for me, and it's even hard for me today. But that's actually keeping a schedule. And I've found that keeping a schedule that actually works for you is a very difficult thing unless you are one of those people that's extremely has all their stuff always like kind of together. There's places that you can put that at on your stream page, which we may take a look at that. But just want to keep in mind, you're going to need some sort of consistency. And all of this kind of comes from used to, there was like people used to watch regular TV. And so they would know that at, I don't know, 10 o'clock, this show was on. And, they got used to coming at that exact time. And so like right now, I can tell you several streamers and what time they go live because they've been consistent with that time. And even like last week, I was on vacation, and I did not have my 9 a.m. stream popping up, and I got questions in Twitter. Where are you at? It was one of those things. If you can keep the schedule, do it. Making friends is the other one I'll touch on here lightly. Friends in Twitch is going to help you a lot. The more people that you network with and that you talk to that's already doing Twitch, you'll find that the developer community is extremely small. So there's a live coders team where I think that group now has about 190 people in it, 190 members. But if you're going to be in the developer space, just keep in mind that the more friends that you make is going to be the better long term, because you're going to be able to share tips and tricks. In most of Twitch or streaming has actually already been figured out. So that's pretty awesome. Most of it, you're not reinventing the wheel. Fifth is be interactive. I have found personally, I I used to work as an advocate. I always have enjoyed kind of like laughing at myself, and so I've never really had much of a problem with like being silly. But there's a lot of developer streams that I'll wind up and I'll like listen into them, and you've got to do something to actually keep the viewer there. It can't just always simply be, hey, here's the code, here's how this is going, you gotta offer a little bit more. And then the sixth thing, I know at this point you're like, oh, forget it, I'm not doing this thing. The sixth thing here is don't stress out about this gear. Like at the beginning, my very first stream, I used a laptop that I already had, a laptop webcam built in. I also used a microphone that I had for probably about, I don't know, 6 years. It wasn't very good. And everything that I used on my stream was like free, or it was just sitting around the house. The reason I say this is that with Twitch and with streaming, you really need to make sure you actually are going to like it before you actually commit to it. And I've seen several like people like go out, buy a bunch of awesome gear, and then from there they're just thinking, what do I do? Like, I mean, I kind of like this thing, but oh, I'm getting more like followers if I just create, polished YouTube videos, or whatever their goal may be. So my recommendation is start out with like what you got. Don't spend any money. Even if you have money kind of like left over, I wouldn't do that. Okay, so I'm about to do a lap around, but first I want this to be totally interactive. If anybody's got any questions or anything like that, I would love to hear them. I'd love to like answer anything that comes in. So don't be shy. I am monitoring the Twitch chat more than I am the Zoom chat. I think it's just because my brain is like hardwired to like look at the chat on Twitch.
So one question you got on Zoom was the broadcast PC be a separate VM instead of a separate PC?
For the broadcast PC to be a VM, well, so with it being a VM, I think you're always going to run into some issues. Um, if that VM is in the cloud, obviously you could power it up to be, a quite powerful PC. But things like your video feed, there's a problem right there. If you were using a VM that was like in the cloud, because you would have to send your video there and then back out again, your audio too. If it's a local VM, I think you're still going to have a bottleneck with that. So I probably wouldn't use a VM at all. I would just use one dedicated PC, or just use, or if you want to just try it out with just just one computer. You don't necessarily have to do two. I've just found that through trial and error, I've broken like everything. I've had so many streams with like things breaking that I've switched to two. Things have finally kind of like calmed down. So yeah, I hope that helps. I definitely would recommend two PCs, especially if you have those available to you. Okay, let me know if that helps. I'll let Chad keep me honest if I'm answering everybody. Okay, very cool. So I'm switching over to, so this is the GitHub repo that I had. So this project from day one has been an open source project. I used ViewPress, and at the time of the writing, or at the time of publish, I used ViewPress 1. I think ViewPress 2.x is out now. And so there's obviously some features like that comes with that. But it's a very kind of like simple kind of like site, and it's not necessarily an actual application, obviously, but what it is it's a way that people can come to this site, and at any given moment, they can learn like one new thing about Azure. Now, keep in mind, I work on Azure. This is one of the things that I've enjoyed doing and that I work on. And so you can come here, you find an article that you like. Again, you just watch one, and then you can either watch the video or try read through this and then try it out or whatever. Um, the reason that this was originally put into GitHub and why we're using like GitHub pages for this is that I really needed flexibility to publish fast. Now, one of the things that you'll see down here, and we'll talk about contributors in just a second. If we go into contributors, again, the thing that I love about kind of GitHub and stuff is that all the data is there. Let's see. That's through this time period. And I think there was another view I was thinking about here, maybe over here in commits. Try this one. Nope. I was looking at the view. I think this may not be it, but the view was basically showing that when I really started this project, at least in the year of 2019, there was not literally anybody contributing outside of Vahe, who is somebody that works on our team, and so there was nothing that was happening there. And so as we started getting into as I started getting into streaming, I started mentioning this project each and every time. And so then actually I think the PRs could show it even better. So I'll go back to PRs, and let's just go to page 2, and then scroll down to the bottom. So you'll see all these are by Vahe. And so anything that has his name, there's one by Tom, that's another person. But you're seeing a lot up here, especially of Vahe helping out with this. And then you look back and you look at the current year. I think we'll start around right around here. What you start to see is there's more than just Vahe's like name, and you'll see there's individual new names, or hopefully there's more new names than there are existing names, and that goes all the way up to the top. And I believe by using Twitch and by obviously having this project and being open for beginners or for anybody that wants to help out, they were game for doing that. And that's the same thing like over here with like it could be something as simple as like fixing like broken links. And now while some of these people may use the Microsoft platform, because today's day it's more about your GitHub repos. What have you done versus like a resume? And I'll be honest, I've interviewed 6 people over the last before I went on vacation in about 7 business days, and I will say that the resume I looked at was like brief. It's more of what have they actually done. And so, some people use this for, okay, well, I've been contributing to a Microsoft open source project or whatever for the resume. I'm fine as long as people are wanting to or willing to like kind of help maintain the project, because there's too many pieces of the project, for me to kind of maintain by myself. And so, you can see as we're starting to get into a couple 270 something, I think, tips so far, that these are too hard for me to manage by myself. Okay. So I needed people to help me with it. This was obviously just all kind of like marked down. I have a link for this at the bottom of each and every page. And so people hit this edit button here, edit this file, and they would edit it, and then they would commit it to a PR. I would accept it. Boom. Okay. Well, how are they finding this open source project, and how would potential folks that were wanting to use your open source project, how would they find that? So that's where I like to do this. I like to take a kind of a look over here at good old twitch.tv. Tell you a few things that I kind of know about this site. So I'm assuming most people has already seen this site before, and at least if you haven't, here's kind of the normal layout. I won't go into any of this, but what it will do is I'll hit browse here for our category, and I go to this one all the time. So this is the one area where the recommendations actually works. And yes, I'm very critical of Twitch of not allowing you to find stuff. You can see our slice of the pie for developers. We've got 3.2K right now. That's actually right around where it stays. There's several sites that has more information of that. And if you're just kind of thinking about, hey, where do I get more information about? Solinome is one of the places that gives you more of a breakdown of like those categories. Just want to show you that because you'll probably use all of these links at some point. Maybe I can just top all these up and give them to Chad. Okay, so we go into like science and technology. You can see how the ranking is. Now, by default, you come into this, you see, okay, you've got this one with Lana with 162. She's also a member of that. You've got some others here at 75. And this is a recommendation that they built that was just for us. This is the normal top of recommendation. So just think, if you're in this category, the best of the best of the best is only running around 317 viewers. Now, think of any other channel. These are like just chatting. I'm just picking this one because this is like the second one that's like right there. It doesn't take long. I mean, this is like 28K and 23K. So what I'm kind of getting to here is that if you go to the browse and you see science and technology, and you kind of take a look at some of like the titles here, you may or you may not see OSS. So the first kind of like tip there is that tag your project and your stream properly. I didn't do this at the beginning, which I learned obviously the hard way. That's why I'm trying to save you some time. So the category type would be science and technology. And according to what you're wanting to do, look, these are a few of the ones that I use a lot, like programming, educational. I usually do AMA for, ask me anything. So to totally go in here and make sure you're using the right tags. Now, the tags and all of that stuff is also set up inside of your channel. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go channel, and let's see. We'll go to our creator. Let's see. I was going to go, and I was going. Actually, I won't do that. But let me swing back over to this one. Okay. So on browse, I was going to go into my dashboard, but I don't think it's going to work the way I wanted it to. Okay, so tags is important. Second thing there is go live notifications. You have the ability to set go live notifications in the text that it actually sends out. So set that and make sure when you set that. I typically like to do some like fun things with it, like watch me be crazy, or like or just typical like beginners welcomed, something that's like friendly and that's like inviting for the people that are already following you to even kind of gauge their interest to come back over and to watch your watch your actual live stream. The next piece is actually going right back to the panels. So one of the things that you'll want to do with your project is you'll want to create these panels. Now I can tell you how I did like all of my stuff. I did not pay a designer to do anything. I used tools that was inside of Stream Deck. So Stream Deck does have a way to create Twitch panels. And so I used this. I do have an account though, or I do have a paid account there, but there's plenty of other options. If you just search for Twitch panel creator, that you can use to kind of get those, to get that, to create stuff like this. This is typically in Markdown. So if I go right here and I click on Edit Panels, this is, you can see like down here, I think, like right here, you can see down at the bottom, just do a quick zoom in here. You can see it's just typical kind of like Markdown. Another thing that I will give you some advice about is that I mentioned having a schedule and showing your schedule that's available where people knows where they can find you. But also there is a schedule tab that people can look at here and they can see, oh, here's what I did on yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. I'm thinking, did I do Azure Resource Graph yesterday? I was like, oh yeah, I did. And so that's another great place to find. I am not one of the people that like ask for subscriptions or anything of that matter. So never done any of that. I've always just found that letting them know there is a free sub through Prime could be something that they can use if they're not using it anywhere else, because everybody gets this as long as you're an Amazon Prime member. FAQ rules always needs to apply because it is the internet. And then kind of like the setup here of I typically just list out my setup. Most people use this as another kind of way to make a few extra bucks because they use Amazon affiliate or Amazon links where they get a little bit back off of that. Try not to do that on any of my stuff. One of the things I was going to show you for your open source project is that over here, let's go, and this little window right here is in the way. Move it down. Let's see. I'm going to go over and I'm going to hit view all extensions. Is that if you've got a repo, which you should, you can come in here and you can look at the additional extensions that are currently made. So there's a few that's in here that's fairly like interesting. Obviously, like your profile, could be on there. I just do a link to it on mine. A repo browser, so you can install some of these extensions, and you can feature your product on or feature your open source project directly on your stream. So this is something I've seen some people doing. I think it's a definitely worthwhile way of showing people what your project is. So that's like 3 or 4. And so a couple of other things in here is that for your project, I would heavily recommend investing and spending some time with your bot. You're like, a bot? What? Yeah. So obviously, there's bots that run inside of most of the chats or most of the Twitch channels. They do a couple of different things. There's many bots that you can use. There's Nightbot, and then this one over here is this is just Streamlabs. Again, I don't know. I invested into Streamlabs at the beginning, and I've tried Stream Elements. I've just found a lot of Streamlabs stuff just to be close to what I was looking for. And so inside of their chat, it's pretty rich in regards to one of the things that I have, and we'll talk about this in a second, is that I have the Crump fan bot. It's a Twitch account that I'm using, and like with Streamlabs, they'll actually let you use a different name. So I linked up Crump fan bot over to this, so I don't ever see Streamlabs. Nothing against Streamlabs, but I would prefer never to see their name in my chat. I mean, I'm hooking them up with some free advertisement here, so maybe that's good enough. But I'd rather it say Crump fan bot because I wanted to have a little bit more closer kind of knit to what we're doing there. So with your open source project, where I find a lot of this will where you probably want to start is you would probably want to start with some of the commands. Now, you can use variables in Streamlabs in pretty much any of them today. But I have a set of commands that sometimes I will run if I want to talk about something. So, like for Azure tips and tricks, instead of it actually running on a timer where it runs with a predetermined predetermined number of lines and chatters, and so forth. This way I can actually just run the command whenever I want. So I do #AZ. So it says, hey, here's the blog, here is the source code, etc. And I have a bunch of these kind of like set up for different things. You probably would want to do one for like social. I have a little bit one for, I was doing push-ups on my stream, depending on, how many, I guess, followers I got. And so from there, different people that have come on the show, even bringing in some variables for when one of the live coders teams comes on. So in short, just keep taking a look at the commands that you would may want to take advantage of. The next thing, which I highly recommend, and I have been tweaking this forever, so this isn't even all of them, but it is you always want to run stuff on a command. I don't know if you're like me, but I will get into learning something or talking about something, and the next thing I know, which is what it just happened, I just looked and saw it, at least my time is 4:53. Time goes by super fast. It's like it's always fast forward motion. But what's kind of cool here is that if this is running at a certain time interval, it's automatically going to drop that into the chat, and you're not going to have to worry about it. So with your open source project, I would highly suggest having some sort of timer bot that is releasing, and then also having a command that will tell you, hey, this you know AZ or whatever your the keystrokes are that you would like to use can show the open source project. Um, or that was like 5 or so. I don't know. I've already lost count. Just take them all in. Um, the next one that I wanted to talk about was Discord. So let me move this little thing down at the bottom again. Sorry, there's a little chat window. I think I got rid of it now. Okay, so let's see here. Discord. So I have logged in to Discord, and so this if you don't know kind of what Discord is, let me give you the kind of the quick fast version. Discord is where typically gamers and Twitch people would hang out after the stream. Now it's kind of turned into the kind of like place to like talk to someone like after the fact. So there's many different teams that's like out here. This is one of the security teams that I'm in, and so I just wanted to show you their kind of layout, where you could see where you could potentially start having a Discord channel, and then the more people that comes in, obviously you have more abilities to chat. So they have like announcements. This is just to give you a quick feeling of what this is like. Shared links where people find kind of cool stuff. They just share it out. This one is also for like jobs in the security industry. Different types of like introductions. People drop in, say, hey, who you are. This one's about reverse engineering, general tech, capture the flags, offensive, and then defensive. And in some of these, and I'm not showing any of those, but there's also some rooms that's just limited to like your core like team. So you can set all of those up as well. And so as you're streaming or whatever, you'll kind of get this notification. I think it shows up on the other screen that, hey, here you are. And so Discord is another great way to take advantage of your open source project by having an actual place for them. And even I know Microsoft recently, Python, Microsoft, Discord. Microsoft recently has a Discord that is this one. It's this link. And so I don't think I'm in this one. I do some Python. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to join it live. So we just joined Microsoft Python, but I guess I'm showing you all this to say, hey, there's a ton of communities over there, and this isn't really just like I hate to say it, like kind of like a kid's like kind of toy. but this is more of a new tool that major corporations, and there's way more than Microsoft. Facebook has all of their stuff on there. Uh, yeah, Facebook. I don't know about Apple, Google. I may have seen one or two links maybe across through there, but more of the there's still a bunch of companies that are taking a look at this. I do have a few more ways, and I like to stay somewhere close to time, unless Chad tells me to like be quiet, because I can talk for like ever, like I was saying. Uh, this link right here is another place that people go to promote their like streams or anything that they've been doing that's like interesting. And this is just watch people code. So you can come to this. You go to this Reddit. And inside of this, you can see it's actually fairly active. 25K. I know there's not as many online, but keep in mind for programming and for streaming, have a very little tiny piece of the pie. It's definitely not a lot. But you can put your project in here, and then you can draw people from this back over to your Twitch stream. And I have posted in here many times as well. It's great, really great for newbies. And you can see here, Flappy Bird Live. Anybody remember that game, Flappy Bird Live? Flappy Bird? I used to play that thing forever. I think I got to like 100. I got a score of like 100 or something like that, and I was like, yeah, I'm doing really, really well. And the other thing is that I'm a real big believer in reusing content. So if you did your stream's completed inside of Twitch, you can obviously do things, such as export that video out to YouTube. You can send it to YouTube, or if you would like to, you can come back in and you can download it. Once you download the file, so there's options you can download your stream. Once you download it, you have access to that full raw file, or you can also be recording it when you're using OBS if you don't want to actually download it from Twitch afterwards. My strategy for content reuse on Twitch is to always have the actual raw file of the stream. I use markers. So there's an ability in your Twitch stream where you can hit like one button. Well, if you've got Stream Deck, or even if you don't, there's software versions of this. You can tap one button. After you hit that button, it's a marker. So it marks that certain space inside of the stream. And then you can go back to it later. And so what I do is I will download it or whatever. Once I've got the video, the very next place I head over to, nobody would believe it, but it is Video Indexer. Now, just so you know, this I am using. I'm using a trial of this. This is not like free money. This is like my Gmail account. It is a tool that's made by Microsoft, but actually I know nobody on this team, so I have found that their trial is very generous. And anyway, that's what I use. The reason I use Video Indexer is because I can put a stream. I can upload a video, such as this was a stream video. It could pull out things like labels and entities and like emotions. Oh, it says that I had fear for 1.38. Let's see what that is. Apparently, it sees that is fear, maybe because of the red on the text. And then the different types of like scenes in there. Why do I put this in Video Indexer? Really, for one reason, I want cheap subtitles. So what's kind of cool is that you can put it inside of this. There's a download button here, and I will usually grab the TTML and probably the SRT. And once I actually have subtitles for the video, and they're pretty good. I know like whenever you think of like using like a an automated like process, um, if it works for my accent, probably work for yours. So I would totally recommend doing that. You can edit the subtitles if you would like, if you want to like listen through it. I'll be honest, I never really have edited the subtitles, even if there's like a little comma or something that's wrong. People don't care. They're extremely forgiving, especially with subtitles. And also, it helps us do our part with like accessibility. So my kind of workflow is I'll take this video, put it inside a video indexer. I'll get my subtitles. Now that I've got my subtitles, I'll probably go ahead and maybe do a little bit of light editing if I want to kind of trim it down, make it a little bit easier to like read. Or I mean, not read, to watch. And then from there, that's where you can start using all those clips on various social media networks. So with like Twitter, you probably want to burn in the subtitles down at the bottom of your place if you want to take like a 15 to 20-second clip of your project or wherever you were trying to drive people to. That works exceptionally well. Instagram, IGTV is something that I just now started playing with. Even though they're expecting vertical video, you can always, switch that around. So get the most use out of your content. So just that's such a key kind of like point. If you're going to stream it, make sure it lands in a couple of other places. My favorite is YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Those are kind of the places that I go. Now, obviously, Facebook has an extremely large audience that you could take advantage of there. Okay, so the one other thing I was going to say, especially if you've got a brand new kind of like project, I get this question a lot, and let's see if I brought up that tab or not. Oh, I did. I'm kind of prepared here. It is this concept of restream.io. With your open source project, if you're brand new, if your channel's new, or if this is something that you're really looking to doing, I 100% recommend Restream, at least at the beginning, for awareness. A lot of people kind of are not a big fan of Restream, but I think at the beginning, you need to be able to put your stuff out everywhere at once. So basically, this will take your video feed. That video feed will be shot off to a couple of different locations. I was originally picking YouTube, Periscope, LinkedIn, and Mixer when they were around. Obviously, they're not there anymore. But getting your content out to as many places as possible is always a very, very, very good thing, at least in my opinion. And Restream is free. They do add a line of text to redirect people back over to their site to pay for it, but you do not have to pay for it. And the second question that I've gotten is that, okay, well, I don't have the bandwidth, to stream. Can I record and stream that live? Well, obviously, Twitch has this thing built in. It's restream. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a reruns where you can rerun an old episode. But at least what I would hear, at least from companies, it would be a little bit more along the lines of, I've got a pre-recorded video and I want to pretend as if it's live. Now, you can do that. It's a fairly kind of simple process. There is the scheduler tool. As you can see, stream recorded videos live. Give this a second or two. Hopefully it will load. If it doesn't, we'll get mad at them. And so I have tried this before, and I can tell you this whole like hour that you're spending with me is 100% stuff that I've tried and stuff that has either worked well or worked horribly. And this worked horribly. And it may be because I wasn't like a business or something like that. But you can select videos, you can turn on events, and you can schedule these, and they will play, and the video will be as smooth as like anything. especially through this tool, or at least the tool that I've been using, Restream. Where does what really happens though is that you lose the aspect of people wanting to watch you live, wanting to ask questions live. The pre-recorded videos on Twitch, and even if you're in the chat, because I've heard that a lot too, like, oh well, I'm going to be in the chat, and I did this. I mean, I've already done all these mistakes. I've been, hey, I'm in the chat. Most of the time, people don't care. They won't watch it, or if they start watching it, if there's silly stuff that maybe even like there's a timestamp down at the bottom, or if there's any indication that this is old, it could be like, switching to like a new tab and showing, an article or a news headline that happened like a long time ago. I typically just would not recommend doing that. And people also would like to usually ask questions, and like seeing like, their questions answered live. So that's kind of one of my kind of like parting kind of advice to give everyone. So I think I'm a bit over for today. That to keep me honest, Chad.
Oh, you're fine.
Fine. Okay.
So another question you get on the Zoom chats was, does YouTube automatically create subtitles for every video?
Yes, they do. They also do. They also have like an automatic kind of version thing that they do. So yes, if you create a video, you put it on YouTube, there is auto generated, and there's usually like a little drop down that says auto generated. Those are not good. And I just say that, and it's totally not even, telling people to use video indexer or whatever. It's just it's not as good of a of translating. At least it hasn't been, at least with my videos, by using that. Yeah, it's there. Just wouldn't recommend it. And I really recommend, for when you're reusing that content, and even if you're reusing it on like GitHub or wherever, subtitles rule. Like people really like subtitles. With social media, they do not want to hear audio. That's why a lot of the big social media outlets mute the audio. They don't have any audio by default playing. People don't want to be interrupted because they're in like a meeting where they probably shouldn't be scrolling through like the latest like Instagram feed or whatever. But yeah, totally. I wouldn't rely on it. I mean, it's fine if you really, I guess, if you wanted to use it, but I just wouldn't.
And sure enough, to that point, so the company I work for, we're a content company, and one of the things we have is videos, and we actually are finishing up a project in a couple weeks to put closed captioning on all our videos because it's one of the most requested features. And most of our students, it's medical students. It's not people who normally have hearing problems, which is what we think, but it's people who, well, for them, some of it is because sometimes a little bit the accents and such can be hard to understand. Like that. So here, Rob, I'll come back to your question. So there was a comment of I love subtitles because I sometimes have trouble hearing certain vocal tones, and subtitles help me put together what is being better than without. So,
yeah.
Another question we got here was no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say there is also little Twitch. I think it's Talk to Me Gooseman. Let me see if I got this right. Yeah, so I believe it was him. Let's see if this video leads to where we wanted it to go or not. I'll mute it real quick. Yeah, I believe it is in here. Yeah, so this is it. So you can, just so you know, by default, you can use the stream closed captioner that Talk to Me Gooseman created. He's on. He's another live coder member, where he can auto generate that as you're talking, which I think is fine for the stream. And for the stream, you will reach new audiences by being more like accessible. But typically on the final polished video, um, that's where I kind of need more of a stronger kind of way to create the subtitles, because these are great. They're perfect for the stream, and heck, they may even be fine, in the final production video. But when the computers have the ability to sit there and process that word versus trying to do it like super fast on the fly or whatever, I feel like you'd probably get a little bit better results, but I could probably be proven wrong.
Then the other question we've got here is, how do I take a vacation from the stream but keep a schedule?
Yep. Yeah, you can, inside of Twitch, there is now a vacation mode. So Twitch vacation mode, uh, you can just set that you're on vacation. So from here, for example, you can come in. You got your profile down here. Where's it at? Here, there's the schedule, and then there's another option here for vacation mode. So you can select vacation mode at the top of your stream, and then people will know that you're away. And here's another like opinion, I guess, that I have that probably not a lot of other people would probably share. And but that is that a lot of people are like really afraid of you know if maybe they miss one, or maybe a whole week or whatever. I personally have never noticed somebody that has missed like one stream or maybe even a week. When you're typically going to be gone for like a month, though, I would definitely recognize it. And I see a lot of people, and and I've done this too. Like, oh, no stream today because of X, Y, and Z. Almost as if you owe like an explanation. If you're like me, I'm not profiting for streaming. I just do it because I love it. Uh, I look at it as, hey, we're all together. Kind of my icon before, or my little background that I had before it, is that we're all together, and that there's people have got to be people, and they've also got to be able to be okay with like taking a break. And now, if I miss the stream, I probably won't say anything because the internet may or may not, care. To be quite honest with you, even unless you're obviously one of these in the, the very top percentage, of people that, is streaming. But in the developer space, it still isn't, nowhere near what you're seeing out there with everybody else, with like having, um, 35,000, 25,000 people watching. About 300, 400 is about where I've seen it max in my time.
Although I will admit, someone I do watch, although he's not a coder, actually does stream reviews. So, people ask him to review their streams and such. And last week, work got in the way, so he wasn't able to stream. But sure enough, I mean, I was waiting on Twitch. I'm like, all right, when's he going to start? When's he going to start? And he didn't start his normal time. I did look at his Twitter feed, and he said that work got in the way. So I will admit, there was someone who I actually was waiting for and wasn't there because they were always there.
Yes, and there's a couple of YouTube people that I know of that when they have not been around, the gamers, which I think it may be this one. Harris Heller is his name.
Yeah.
So he only does technical like content. Well, I think he does play some games. So probably that's not 100% accurate. But he does a lot of just talking about his streams and stuff like that. He's definitely one that if he missed his schedule, people would like recognize. So there's definitely a place for it. But yeah. I love you to try to keep your schedule if you do make one, but don't beat yourself up like this. I know some people, this is their full-time living and this is their full-time job, and maybe they need to never miss a moment. But yeah, for developers and especially those in the open source space, I just wouldn't beat myself up if I missed a stream, because there is life.
Well, sure. I mean, Harris, this is his job.
Yes.
This is someone. Yeah, this is someone who I watch quite often.
Yes.
Plus, I watched a lot of his YouTube. His YouTube videos really did help me get started.
Yeah, I mean, and you'll listen to him. He always talks about he used YouTube to bring people over to Twitch. That was his success formula. It was never Twitch first, YouTube second. So kind of interesting stuff there.
Another question we've got is how does StreamYard compare to Twitch and to OBS?
I probably couldn't tell you a whole lot about StreamYard. I have seen it before, but I have not actually downloaded it. I believe when I was looking at, did I even spell that right? I believe when I first got the ability to post video to LinkedIn, LinkedIn had recommended this. But I was pretty deep into already using, probably at that time, I was probably using Streamlabs full time. And so I never really got in and got to use this. So I probably don't have a good kind of, or I don't have any really great information. It seems like this is running in Chrome or Firefox. But that's interesting. I know there's browser based, even Restream offers the browser based stuff, but at least what I've found, and just reading different things, you typically are going to want the actual application versus streaming, through a web browser. And
I mean, so from what I know about StreamYard, that is the big benefit, right? Is that it is on the browser, so you don't have to worry about processing on your computer. And apparently, it's extremely easy to add guests on there because basically they just go to a browser and it adds it in there.
Yeah. And one other thing is that a lot of people, when they're talking about bringing on other people or whatever, one way that you can do this, yes, there is this other free tool here, obs.ninja. So I use Skype, and I guess I'm still under kind of the thought that I like the actual applications installed on my computer because they're dedicated to it. I can also give them process a priority through like Windows. I can say, hey, you're going to get all of the priority to run. So I use Skype personally. I do have a Zoom account, a Zoom paid account. So I don't know if you saw how I logged in, but I logged in through my EDU account. I used to teach a little bit of college. And so they have always given me like all their benefits. And so even though I don't teach there anymore, I still use their stuff, and they've never had any complaints to me. But there is OBS.ninja. This one's completely free. You can add multiple people in pretty quick through the web browser, and then you just pull this into OBS by giving it a browser source. So there's some pretty cool stuff that you can kind of do there with OBS.ninja for completely free. You basically just create a name here and then hit go. And this does not have any watermarks, which I know some people complain about watermarks. I think so. Skype has one that you can't remove. And I know that because I actually asked the Skype team, I was like, hey, I mean, I will even pay you. Like, I just want to remove it. And it basically just crop it out. Just crop it out if you don't want it. I'm like, well, I'm willing to give you some money to remove it. Zoom has one as well. I think Zoom has one. Yeah, this one doesn't have one at all. So I think honestly,
if you
I think
look
you
at
can
our
pay
stream
Zoom.
right now, you'll see the Zoom logo.
You said you will? And that's just because, and it makes sense though. I mean, like, you know, for some of these, companies, that's like their like main way to like make money and stuff. And
Admittedly, with Zoom, if you're on a higher level account, you can actually white label that and put your own logo. It's interesting. You have to have a logo from what I read because I'm not paying for the higher level accounts, but you can replace it with your company's logo instead of having Zoom.
Ooh, interesting. Well, so I have the first tier of Zoom for free. It's just the one that comes with the university, or anybody that was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I have. I have been using it so far. It's worked out fairly well. But yeah, I mean, stuff that so a lot of this stuff is just my own personal stuff that I just like to do. And so, just like I used to run a user group and things of that nature. You know, I would look for like free or cheaper alternatives. I'd rather the money like go back into like the group. And like with my stream, that's where like my moderators get like subscriptions because they won't Twitch won't allow me to give certain people free subscriptions. So I've actually got to pay to give somebody a subscription to my own channel where they don't have to see an ad. It's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, I just always just try to put it back into the group.
Plus, because Twitch wants their 250.
What'd you say?
That's because Twitch wants their 50%, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So if you're just wondering, Twitch, for example, does not pay any of their people properly. If you really are in this for like the money, I would say go to YouTube. I was at TwitchCon last year and there was a pile of YouTubers and it was like brand new worlds, like when they were discussing like what they get paid for like ads versus like what Twitch gives. So Twitch gives like pennies or not even pennies, less than that. And YouTube did a much more. Um, if you want to, we can kind of continue the conversation, and maybe I can just show a few more kind of like a few other kind of like tips. But if anybody
Sure.
wants to kind of hang around for a little bit more,
Yeah,
I don't know if we had like a hard stop time. I try to keep it somewhere around like that. Usually, I have people telling me like doing this.
All right. Well, let's see. I mean, it's even less of a hard stop time when it's all virtual.
There's no one you've got to wait for to grab all of your stuff and get out of their way. One of the things.
Real quick, Rob, I will raid the Southeast Valley.net user group is going to meet in 30 minutes. So Rob Richardson from Phoenix.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if you know Rob or not, but
awesome.
Yeah, we'll definitely raid that one.
I understand. Yeah, so there's obviously a few other things that I kind of do with OBS, and especially this is kind of like the extra the cut bits. There's a few other things that I do for my project, and especially for additional participation when I am using or when I'm doing some of the streaming stuff. For those that have like a few more minutes, wants to just kind of hang around and chat, this is just some extra stuff. Anybody can steer the conversation in another direction if there's something else. So here I am inside of OBS, and so one of the things that I found that works great wonders is that chat loves to see their name on screen. So I'm sure most of you, or maybe you've seen like pop-ups in somebody's stream where it says something like new follower or like new bits or whatever, new cheer. The most useful web browser component that I've probably ever used has been something called featured.chat. Do you use that, Chad? Featured?
I have not yet. I need to. I need to use it.
Yeah. So going back to your open source like project here, let me see if I can log in. I am logged in, and I'm going to go to my dashboard. And then what you can kind of see here is that you have the option to showcase any of the chat messages that have come in. So you can see like there's some messages here. You can also do custom messages. And so anytime that I find like, if there isn't a lot of people chatting or whatever, I'll usually pop one of these up that says, hey, if you've got a question about tech, then we're all here to kind of learn together. A couple of other ones. And then like if there's somebody that is like Gregor, for example, uh his chat message, I can hit this and it will show up over on my stream. And if you're like, I wonder how that magic happens, I always start with a very blank OBS. I've seen so many people that have had like a bunch of stuff set up and they're trying to explain stuff, and it's just hard for me to like follow around. But the first thing you do is you kind of, you make a scene here. I guess most people may be a bit familiar with like scenes. So a scene is going to be what's going to be broadcasted out to the rest of the world. And then you can come in here to sources. And so there's obviously tons of different sources. Let's see if I can show you my treadmill. There's a bunch of sources here. There we go. There's my treadmill. This PC is actually, it is not on my desk. This is in another location. But let's go. Let's see what happens if we select the Brio camera here. Let's see. I'm hoping that it doesn't mess up the other one because it's already in use. Hit this one. It's not going to work at the moment. But you can, so from like here, you can add in like your different types of like camera devices and things of that nature. The one that I use for feature.chat is we come in here and we do browser. I think is this one. And I'll give this just a second here. And you could say, hey, this is a browser source. So feature.chat, we'll go back over to feature.chat. They have inside of this, they have a URL that you can use. So this is used in your software. It displays the chat message. I'm going to hit copy here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right in here and see here. I've learned over time to not show everything.
Right.
Just drop that URL in there because it's custom to this to my account, and I hit like OK. And so now I'm not gonna like make it look pretty or anything like that. But just to kind of drive the point home here is that I can come back into the feature my dashboard, and I can see this is the one. Let's just clear this one out, and let's pick an older message by Eric. All right, come on, clear. Eric here. There is sometimes I've seen a bit of a bug in this application. Thankfully, I know the guy that wrote it, so pretty easy to reach out. So I'm going to go here. There it goes. Sorry, maybe it was working. Maybe I was just blind. I'm going to hit show, and then back over here, you can kind of see here is the message. And I find that with as you're talking about coding or different types of projects, like bring that person's question up to the very, very top where everyone can kind of like see, oh, this is the question that they're on. They can identify the person. Yeah, it's just one of those just additional kind of like things that I think really helps make the stream much better. And you can obviously we talked a bit about the bots and stuff like that. You can create like your own bots. So I know a lot of our programmer friends, they're like, oh, okay, well I saw that bot that was in Streamlabs over here. That's great and all, but I want to build my own. Well, you can do that pretty easily. I do have a sample that I published a while back. I've never blogged or talked or anything like that about it. Looks like it's got a potential security vulnerability, but I've been playing with Python the last couple of weekends. I've been doing some Python 101 series, and by the way, I'm not a Python developer. I'm just a pretend developer. And so this is for tracking push-ups. And so what this whole application is really actually modules back. Come on over here into bot.js. And this is the entire code for it. So there is a TMI library that I pulled in. Here is the file system. Actually, I think this is not Python. This is Node.js. Wonder why I've said that back over here. Anyway, sometimes I confuse myself. Yeah, maybe I started one in Python. My GitHub repos, by the way, this is a very good repo for me because most of the time my README just has the title of the project with a couple of hashtags in the front to make it like the title property. Yeah, I pull in this project. So this TMI, I don't remember what it stands for, but there is an open source project that allows you to interact with Twitch and Twitch chat. And so I have like a settings file that I pull in. Let me see if I can make this a bit bigger. One of the things I hate is that when somebody's talking about something, you can't see anything they're saying. So maybe that font helps a little bit there. So you'll see here it says settings.json. This is just a file I'm pulling in. It parses it out. I have a couple of other settings in there for like the channel that I'm going to send it to, and then the number of push-ups. So just a little bit of configuration here. I must have grabbed that for another sample. Cluster AWS. I don't think it even uses this. I don't recall doing anything here. But down here, you'll see all this is IRC. So the entire chat that Twitch has is just built upon IRC, which means it's fairly easy to work with it. And then also for developers, they have a complete SDK for anybody to enjoy and to take full advantage of. So this just gives us a message that is connected on a port. And then a couple of things in here that I added was if the user is the mod or me that's doing it. So basically only I can add push-ups to the list. Otherwise, I think people would want to see me in pain and they would say, let's just do add 100 times and make me have to do a bunch of push-ups. And here is where I could have refactored that code to have made it even better. If you don't look at your code from like, I don't know, a week ago and find all kinds of things you could have done better, then you're probably not doing it right. Or at least I've always looked at code that I've had out there that I'm thinking, oh yeah, this could be so much better. Yeah, and I just save it. Basically, I'm just using a JSON here to stringify the content, and there's these client methods. So this is one where I just put this in just for to make my son happy. Brad Ridley is the mod. I don't even know when I did this. This must have been a little while back. Oh, this is 2019. So there you go. So yeah, you can create all of those. There is a complete developer twitch.com. They're not using the same standards. See, developer Twitch. Back over here, there it is, dev.twitch.tv. And so inside of this, you can see all of the SDKs and all the kind of like fun stuff you can do. But I'm going to tell you this, as a programmer, well, I'm a pretend programmer, but as a pretend programmer, what you can do before you start building that thing that you want, my tip of all is to come back over here to GitHub. We're going to just remove that. So you're starting a new project. Come right here and whatever you're looking for. So like Twitch, a chat, Python, bot. Search all of GitHub. More than likely, any project you can think of, there's probably somebody that's already built it. And I learned this also the hard way. Some of these are outdated, so obviously you need to, rearrange the sorting methods here. So like recently updated or something like that. And also with Twitch, just as a word of like warning, Twitch, their APIs are constantly breaking changes. And I say that in like, just the spirit of, for developers, but they have a ton of breaking changes. Probably more than I've seen with a lot of like other companies. I'm not sure why it's like that, but they will add addition authentication. Myself and Jeff Fritz he's also a live coder, C# Fritz. We were working on a project right before I left for vacation. And in the code, we were looking at it, we're like, why does that work? They're like, oh, which added another layer of authentication that we had to go back and add to the method. So just keep that in mind here. So yeah, and yeah, like I said, you're gonna find like most of these people, look how horrible this is. They submitted their client ID and their secret right into GitHub.
I thought GitHub was supposed to be scanning for that.
They do scan for a lot of these things. I don't know why this one isn't checked, but like this was a completely random. As you can see, it wasn't blue. I've never had clicked on this thing before.
Right.
This is I mean, this just happens like all the time. Anyway, I won't show their key anymore, even though if people wanted it, it wouldn't be very hard to find. That happens all the time.
It's not like I've never checked in something with a real key live in there.
I have obviously done that. We always talk about like, or I always refer to, I think the only reason that I've been able to be alive in like this industry is that I've probably made every like mistake, but that I've tried my best to like document it or talk about it, where other people don't make that same mistake. And so I did a post that was real popular on dev.to about this, about committing things by accident. This one did pretty well for me at least. I also had this on a Twitch stream. Be December, yeah, right around December. So this was it. You've committed a password. How do you fix it? So anyway, I kind of walked through a couple of the different ways that I fixed it at least. But yeah, I use this tool called BFG. Anybody, obviously I'm family friendly, but if anybody knows BFG from the Doom days, then there you go. Awesome. Yeah, there's always so many different kind of like little tips and things like that at least I found. I don't know, maybe all of the like problems with like streaming and development have come to me like first, so I could like document it somewhere, or something of that nature.
I'm gonna say, I mean, what I've gotten in the habit of doing is I'll actually have a static class that has my passwords in it that I reference in the other projects, and then I ignore that file, in Git, but it never checks in. And that has made it a whole lot easier for me because I will forget. I'll say, oh, here, let me just put this in while I'm writing it, and then I'll take it out. I always forget.
Yesterday, we were doing a bit on Azure resource graph. And so I pulled down the sample project, and I noticed the way that they were storing their credentials. Number one, it was through arguments. So here's an example well, actually, I've already tweaked the code since then, but they were using the args that typically comes with the console application. And I'm sorry if anybody here is not into C#. C# is probably, well, I guess the .NET group or Azure group would all be familiar. I do speak to some folks and they're like, what? Why are you C#? Whatever. Not as a bad thing or anything, but they wanted to see an example, probably something that may be in their preferred language. I think I'm with friendlies here. And so I don't have to necessarily explain those things, which I just explained for some weird reason. But I usually, like in this example, always kind of use system.configuration, only because I think that, at least for me, it's pretty fast. Because remember, I'm not a production developer anymore. I know I should hang my head in shame. Did you kind of like grow or go up the ladder a little bit? Now I write demos. That's what I've done. And actually, all I have piles of personal projects. So yeah, this is what happens. I'm 41, so a little off after 40 for anybody here that may be younger. This is what you've got to look forward to. But yeah, I pull in system.configuration for a lot of my C# applications. And then I'll give kind of like, here's kind of an example of the app settings. And then obviously, before anybody commits that in, you would want to exclude that from being inside of your Git repo. But I always keep a sample as well into the repo, just because I'll personally forget what all I set up, or I'll look at the code, like I'll look at this program file and I'll be like, okay, we need a tenant, client ID, and then I had to come back over here and make the skeleton. So that's just one of my like tips within a tips within a tips of some of the things that I try to do to make life a little bit easier for me. Awesome. Anybody else? Any questions? Don't be afraid. If I don't know the answer, I will flat out tell you I don't know the answer. Try not to make anything up. So let me know if you've got anything else. Anything about streaming, or
Rob does say he really appreciates. He's getting ready to head to run his Phoenix group.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you first, Chad, for letting me come in and chat with your group today. I do greatly appreciate that. Anytime that I can, do more around going to different types of like events and stuff. I kind of got my whole start off of going to events. I'm gonna leave it on my last slide. In case anybody may want to chat with me later. Yeah, so my start was in user groups. I do user groups today, virtually. I am not in evangelism anymore, even though everybody thinks I'm an advocate. I'm actually not. I'm on a content team, and so yeah, I like going to these groups, and also for all of you that are like watching, this is a lot of work for Chad to put these things together. I used to run 2 user groups back in the day. A lot of hours and time was put into that. So anyway, thanks to Chad for spending his time to put these together, and for us to kind of like learn together.
Thank you.
So at the bottom of my screen, I've got the same kind of thing that you saw before, just Twitter and like Twitch. Those are really the 2 places that I hang out now. I've eliminated Facebook. So there's a few platforms that I'm just not on anymore, but this is really where you can find me. And then the last link is a project that I'm working on just for Azure, and that is on Azure Developer Streams. So if you want to check that one out, you can. But that's just a link that I thought may could be interesting for others.
All right. Well, let me end the stream real quick, and then we'll continue here for a little bit. So everyone who's on stream, I really appreciate you all joining us tonight. Tomorrow, I'll be back doing my normal 11:30 stream. Be working. I'm gonna try to wrap up the actual CRUD piece of that ORM, at least the initial piece that needs to be done. And then next week we'll be back at it again. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Find the right button. Here we go.